The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are looking to reunite with a familiar face and a guy that I think could absolutely help them as they go down into this playoff push. Right now, the Bucs sit at a 50-50 shot to win the division, and if they win the division, they're in the playoffs. If they don't win the division, they're out. I mean, it's really, really simple. So in this, we're going to talk about who they're bringing in. We're going to talk about stylistically exactly why they're bringing this player in, why I think it can be extremely helpful for them. But also, we are going to get into a little bit of the playoff stuff and what this team is looking at. So, and we'll even talk a little bit of Baker. We'll talk a little bit of Baker. All right, but here's, if you don't know what we do on this channel, my name's Craig. We have another channel, Sports Talk Detroit. We are huge Lions fans, but we love the NFL. We're NFL fans. And our hope is to give you just kind of an honest look into what your team is and what they are doing. And that's exactly what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. So as we look into this, I want to first tell you exactly what it looks like for the Bucs and exactly what's going to happen going forward. So they are reuniting, like I said, with a familiar face, and that person is Shaq Barrett. You remember him? I'm going to tell you just how effective he has been because you may have remembered him as a guy who started declining, but I'm going to show you some extra numbers that might not necessarily be true. So we're going to look into that and why this is super helpful for you. Before we get into that, just a couple of reminders, all right? You do not hold the tiebreaker with the Falcons, so you need to finish with a better record than the Falcons. You both sit at 8-7. You play Carolina, New Orleans. They play Dallas and Washington, or Washington then Dallas. So they have a tougher last two games than you. However, they need to lose one of them, and you need to win out. It's that simple. Or you go 1-1, and they could go 0-2, I guess. But let's talk about Shaq Barrett. All right, where did he go for starters? He signed a one-year contract with the Dolphins back in March during free agency, and then in July he retired, which I thought was really, really unique. And then he ended his retirement in November. And maybe the thought process was like, hey, the Dolphins are getting close. They might be making a playoff push here, but the Dolphins didn't immediately move him to the active roster, and then they released him this week. I thought that was very interesting. All right. Now, if you remember, he played 70 games for the Bucs between 19 and 23. In that time, he had 45 sacks, including an NFL high 19 and a half in 2019. So he's 4 years removed from that. He's a two-time Pro Bowler. He won a Super Bowl. He also won a Super Bowl in Denver, I believe. So he won a Super Bowl in the last run with Peyton Manning, and he won a Super Bowl in the last run with Tom Brady. Like, not a bad gig. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. And now he's back. So why do you need him? Why do you need him? Your defensive line has played well. I'm not going to lie about that. They've played well. And I think sometimes when we look at certain things, but nobody is like that sack monster. You got Kalijah Cansey with 6.5. You got Vita Vea with 6. Levante David, Hall, 5.5, 4.5. Nelson, Diaby, Brewer, right? Like, I mean, there are just a ton of people here with just kind of, popping in there. Here's the thing. You got a lot of linebackers getting sacks, and you got a lot of pressure from your D tackles. The vast majority of your sacks are from your D tackles, 6, and 2. All right, so what about your defensive ends? Your D ends have only produced, and I understand linebackers can play the edge position. I get that. But you need more pressure on the outside. And when I look at what a guy like Shaq Barrett can do, is he can allow you just to keep people fresh. Rotate. Pass rushing specialist, run rushing specialist. Do whatever you need to do and get that pressure on consistently. Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have not been what I like to call just phenomenal in the secondary. All right? Jamel Dean has been playing pretty good. Tyke Smith, Zion McCallum. Like, look, none of these guys have had bad years. They haven't. But the pass defense hasn't been remarkable so far this year for the Bucs. You're not going to fix that in the secondary, so let's just throw bodies and try and get pressure that way. Like, I think that this works. You don't always have to have an elite edge rusher in order to have a great edge, or in order to have a great pass rush. By a lot of metrics, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers already are a top 10 team when it comes to pressuring the quarterback. Like, in fact, the Bucs rank in the top 10 for pressures, not sacks, but pressures. So if you can add another guy to that mix who can continue to get pressures, I think you're going to be pleasantly happy. Here's the other thing that I wanted to show you with Shaq Barrett, and these numbers are from PFF. So these are his last years in Tampa, right? All the way up till last year, where he still played 746 snaps. Now, nothing was going to match this 2019-2020 season, but here's what you notice. His sack numbers went down. They went down significantly, but his pressure rate, he had 56 total pressures last year. His pass rush grade, in other words, pass rush win rate, and based on what they were asking him to do, and they were actually asking him to full out pass rush last year, believe it or not, it was the highest graded. Put whatever stock you want into PFF. That's up to you. It was his best pass rush grade of his career last year. This isn't someone that I think you're going to see has nothing in the tank. This is someone who they're saying, all right, let's get him for the stretch run. Carolina Panthers do not have a good offensive line. The Saints are a dumpster fire, and especially with the Saints, if you can continue to get pressure, Bryce Young has shown with the Panthers that he will throw interceptions. He's been much better as of late, but he has shown that he will throw interceptions. And, Rattler, are you kidding me? Spencer Rattler, like, that is not good. If you can get pressure on him, you're good to go. It's about turning these pressures into sacks. Shaq Barrett will be much better at doing that. So that's my question to you. Does this make sense? Does this move the needle for you as a Bucs fan, or is it just one of those things where it's like, I don't care, we lost to the Cowboys, I'm angry, right? Like, look, you had a primetime game against the Cowboys. The Cowboys have actually been playing really well the last 3 to 4 weeks. And they got a victory. Your next 2 games are not difficult. And the Falcons, yep, they switched to a new quarterback. That's good. Commanders are a good football team. And then they have to play the Cowboys that you just had. So just take care of business. All you can worry about as a Bucs fan is your team winning. You can't worry so much about your hated rival, the Falcons, and what they're doing. You just have to hope that they do it. Look, mediocre teams find ways to lose in the last month of the season. Mediocre teams find ways to lose. There are games where you have teams that it feels like they should not care. You played a Dallas Cowboys team that should not have cared. All right? And I'm not saying that you're a mediocre team. I think you're just above mediocre. I think there's been a ton of injuries this year. I think you are a good football team. I think the Atlanta Falcons are still a mediocre football team. And you just have to hope that they do what mediocre teams do, which is find a way to lose. We cover both teams on this, which is unique. If you had asked me 6 weeks ago, it was all locked up, right? It was all locked up for the Falcons. Tiebreak is there. The tiebreak's there, and they're going to win this division. And then they go on and lose, and you had lost 4 in a row. Like, it was not looking good. Now you've gone 4-1. They've gone like 1-4. Things can change so fast. So, yeah, they technically have like a half a game lead on you because of the tiebreak, but you can still make it happen. All right, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoy having Shaq Barrett back. All right, see you.